What up, YouTube? Here with Talk Boxing episode number 9, and on this episode, I'm gonna be covering and giving y'all my predictions, previewing all the fights that's gonna be featured today. And also on this episode, I'm gonna give y'all my take on the country of Cuba announcing that its boxers will be allowed to fight professionally. So that's what's going to be featured on this episode. Without further ado, let's get to it. The first fight I'm going to be previewing is the interim super welterweight title bout between the unbeaten uh, Sebastian Fundora and Erickson Lubin. This fight I'm looking forward to. It's going to be on Showtime today. Um, my pick, I'm picking Fundora to win via a mid-late round stoppage, knockout win. I say in the 7th or 8th round, Fundora should knock out Erickson Lubin with a right uppercut on the inside he doesn't see coming, and that is Fundora's best punch from what I've seen. Fundora is the biggest super welterweight in the division. He stands at 6'6", the same height as Anthony Joshua, who fights at heavyweight, and he has a 80-inch reach. And despite his size and reach advantage that he has over his opponents at 154, he's got a decent jab, but he doesn't utilize that enough. He likes to get on the inside instead of keeping his opponents at a distance. And he likes to brawl when he doesn't have to, and he likes to get in the pocket and get nasty. And Erickson Lubin, one of the more recognizable names at 154, he's already fought Jermell Charlo, who holds majority of the titles at 154, and he was knocked out by Charlo in the first round a few years back. And like I said, this fight has huge implications. It's for the interim super welterweight title. The winner of this fight will fight the winner of the Charlo Castaño rematch. They're scheduled for May, Charlo and Castaño. Whoever wins that fight will fight the winner of this fight. Like I said, I'm picking Fundora to win. Uh, and Erickson Lubin, man, he's a good fighter. Although he's got a questionable chin. We're gonna be fair. We're gonna, critique both guys' game, and yeah, he's open to shots that he don't see coming. But he's a good counterpuncher, good footwork, utilizes angles to his advantage. But like I said, um, due to the fact that Lubin has been wobbled plenty of times, been knocked out before in his only defeat. Um, and yeah, because of that reason, him being vulnerable to punches that you don't see coming, that's the most dangerous punch. That's the most dangerous part of the sport, is getting hit with punches that you don't see coming. And Fundora possesses power in his hands, and he likes to get on the inside and fight for real. And Fundora, even though he's unbeaten, he has a draw on his record, and that was against Jamonte Clark a few years back. That ended in a draw, and that's his only non-win on his record. And Jamonte Clark is not the best fighter. Erickson Lubin is a better fighter. Uh, Jamonte Clark, he's on a mediocre level. He's maybe a step above a journeyman, and I say that with all due respect. Um, Jamonte Clark, he lost to Terrell Gausha, who had a fight most recently this past week, last week versus Tim Tszyu, and Tim Tszyu won via a dominating fashion, and Fundora struggled against Clark, who was stopped by Gausha. And I said on the post-fight video to Tszyu and Gausha that maybe Tszyu could fight either, well, I'd say the loser of this fight, because the winner of this fight will be challenging either Charlo or Castaño. Um, but yeah, he showed some vulnerability and flaws in that fight. Taking unnecessary risks that he didn't have to take. Getting on the inside instead of fighting on the outside, utilizing his reach advantage and pumping out that jab, and getting hit with shots that he didn't have, that he could have totally avoided. Hopefully he doesn't make that same mistake versus a sharper counterpuncher like Lubin, who's going to capitalize off of every mistake that Fundora makes fundamentally. And but like I said, I think Fundora's pressure will be too much. He's gonna want to press up on Lubin, have him in spots like against the ropes and pressure him, fight inside the pocket, sneak in that right uppercut, which is his best punch, in my opinion. And I think that's going to be the shot that catches Lubin for the knockout win that Fundora is going to pick up in my predictions. And yeah, what Lubin's going to want to do is, set traps, have him in spots, make space, give trouble to Fundora, cutting him off in the ring, and counter every mistake that Fundora makes. Make him want to, keep pumping that jab and change his game plan and box instead of fight. But like I said, I'm picking mid to late round knockout win for Fundora. I think he's going to go on to challenge either Charlo or Castaño sometime later this year for the undisputed crown at super welterweight. And then the next fight that I'm going to be talking about is Michaela Mayers defending her women's featherweight title versus veteran Jennifer Hunt. Now, Jennifer Hunt, one of the more experienced fighters in the women's featherweight division. I think her last fight was against Katie Taylor. Good effort, but Taylor being pound for pound probably the best women's fighter in the sport. Her or Amanda Serrano or Carissa Shields, and now Michaela Mayers in the mix as well. She had got in there, Jennifer Hunt, I'm talking about, in her last fight against Katie Taylor. Taylor won that fight via unanimous decision. And this is another step up out for Michaela Mayer on her road to becoming a great. And she's well on her way. She's on the come up. After this fight where she defends her featherweight title, she has plans on moving up to the lightweight division, which is where the queen pins of the sport is fighting at. Well, at least that's what I heard. She has plans on moving up to the lightweights. But Michaela Mayer, she's versatile, good timing, she could box and she could fight. We saw in the last fight against that French girl, Hamadouche or something like that. I don't know how to pronounce her name. Pardon me in case I'm wrong. But yeah, even though she's a taller, bigger fighter than Jennifer Hunt, she doesn't have too much of a reach. She got short arms, but she could fight in the pocket though, and she proved that in her last fight. That built her confidence up. Like I said, she's got good timing, good punch placement, and yeah, she's a versatile, well-rounded fighter. That's why she has so much potential. Undefeated, 16-0. And then you got Jennifer Hunt, a veteran. She's got good timing, good footwork, good combos, good balance, and good punch placement as well. Her best punches is the combos, and she likes to throw that 1-2. But when she throws combos, she keeps that head in the center line, and that could leave her open to Michaela's best weapon, and that is that right hand. And I think, when she tries to, step on the pedal to release some offense, I think Michaela's going to counter her and capitalize off her mistakes, scoring with that right hand all night long. And I think Michaela's going to pick up a unanimous decision win over Jennifer Hunt to retain her titles. That's my predictions for this fight. Like, Jennifer is a good fighter, a well-rounded fighter, but I think Michaela Mayer has the same ability. She could do the same thing that Jennifer does, but a level above Jennifer Hunt's. That's why I'm going with Michaela to score a convincing unanimous decision win. And after the fight, I'll give y'all my post-fight perspective after watching and reviewing this fight, and we'll go from there. But y'all heard my predictions here. I'm going with Michaela to win via unanimous decision. Anyways, moving along to the next fight. Next fight is Triple G versus Murata, a unification title bout for the IBF and WBA middleweight titles. This fight was supposed to happen last year, but due to the pandemic and its restrictions, the fight was postponed. Well, it's happening today. Triple G is putting his IBF middleweight title on the line versus Murata, and he's putting his WBA title on the line. It's going to be in front of a sold-out crowd in, I think, Saitama, Japan, which is the hometown of Murata. There's always been questions when it comes to the judges in Japan, especially when it's a foreign fighter coming over to fight its champion or hometown fighter. So Triple G is definitely not going to want to leave this fight up to the judges' hands. And Triple G, ever since his second fight with Canelo, his bounce back fights all been successful. His only defeat came from a questionable decision loss in the rematch versus Canelo. Now, Triple G is already the next opponent to Canelo Alvarez. I think that's if he gets through Dmitry Bivol, who he's gonna fight in May. But yeah, if he gets through Bivol successfully, I think there's a rematch clause if Canelo loses that fight against Bivol. But if he gets through Bivol in September, he's gonna have that third fight with Triple G, and that has been criticized because it's like, why now? Because Triple G, this is the point that I was trying to make. Ever since his second fight with Canelo, he showed signs of his age. He is 40 years old now. He shows signs of slowing down. He still got power in his hands. He got rockets for his hands for sure. But he doesn't pack the same power in his punch. It doesn't have that same thud. He's showing some signs of wearing down. Father Age is undefeated. And Triple G being 40 years old, he's not looking like that same superhuman that we once saw and once believed. And Murata is going to want to take advantage of that. This would definitely be his biggest win. He fights mostly locally over there in Japan. But he's still one of the main middleweight champions. Unification title bouts are always good and healthy for the sport. And this would be a good tune-up fight for Triple G if he's able to get through this test. And in my predictions, I think he will styles make fights. Murata, he's a one-style-based fighter. Most Japanese, or scratch that, most Asian fighters, period, are come-forward, aggressive fighters. And he doesn't have too much versatility when it comes to his arsenal. I'm talking about Murata, and him being a come-forward fighter that leaves openings for Triple G, who's, I think, more technically sound than Murata as well. Both guys being former Olympians. But I think ever since Triple G came onto the pros, he's made some improvements technically. He could do a little bit of everything, but he's more known for his aggressive power punching style. That's what won him over with the fans, and that's his knockout ability, being able to get his opponents out of there with his powerful punches. But like I said, he slowed down and he shows signs of age. And from what I've seen in his last few fights, even his knockout wins, Triple G doesn't just have that spectacularness, if that's a word, to his style anymore. And he's been, not active for over a year now, I believe. So, we'll see if he's going to get in there and show signs of ring rust. Of course, like I said in his previous fights, I'm not going to try and sound like a broken record. But as a fan, everybody's going to want to see Triple G, especially if he's going to get in there with the top name in the sport, Canelo Alvarez. You're going to want to see Triple G on top of his game come today versus Murata. Like I said, styles make fights. I think that come forward style of Murata's and his lack of versatility is going to be the downfall for him in this fight. I'm picking Triple G to win via 5th or 6th round stoppage. I think Triple G floors him. I think Triple G's punches and his power is going to be too much for Murata to handle, and he's not going to have the answers for Triple G come today. And I think Triple G will become unified WBA and IBF middleweight champion. That's my pick for this fight. And moving along, next fight I'm gonna be previewing is Ryan Garcia's long-awaited return to the ring. He's gonna be back in action today versus Emmanuel Tagoe. Not that well known, but he's one of them, loose heads in the sport of boxing, a freestyle fighter, if you will. Unpredictable fighter, but he could box. He's, got good positioning awareness. Uh, like I said, weird timing when it comes to his punches. And as far as Ryan Garcia goes, he's one of the fastest fighters, hand speed wise, currently active in the sport of boxing. One of the best left hooks in the sport. Is on the come up. And, he's got plenty of time with him being one of the top prospects, one of the more recognizable names in the sport of boxing right now. Like I've said before, I don't know if I've covered his profile or any of his fights on this channel, but everybody knows Ryan Garcia is one of the more uh, uh, popular fighters in the sport of boxing right now, and he's on the come up. Like I said, he's got work to do to improve his game, and he's got a new trainer. He left Eddie Reynoso's camp to align himself with Joe Goosen. Joe Goosen, a veteran trainer, good trainer. He's gonna be in Ryan Garcia's corner from this fight and probably more fights in the future. And unlike Eddie Reynoso, Joe Goosen doesn't have too many fighters in his stable, so he could actually focus and put in more time than Eddie Reynoso did with Ryan Garcia. Only they would know because they're working amongst each other. We're just going by what we see. And Ryan Garcia, from what I saw in the weigh-ins, he looked like he's in incredible shape. Hopefully, he comes back in action, looking good in the ring, and his game has improved under Joe Goosen, and we'll see come today versus his fight against Emmanuel Tagoe, an awkward fighter, and Ryan Garcia. This is a challenge for him. Like I said, he's on the come up. Like I said, in his last fight versus Luke Campbell, who's not a power puncher at all, dropped him with a shot that he didn't see coming. Ryan Garcia tends to drop his hands when he gets caught up in the moment on the offense. And, Amir Khan had that same problem, but I think Amir Khan, just doesn't have the chin. I think Ryan Garcia has more durability than Amir Khan, but he gets caught when he's in offense mode, and flashy hands and speedy hands isn't gonna do the job. Like, this is the fight game. Like, it only takes one shot to change the course of the fight, and I think everybody knows that. I think that's a universal thing, that in the fight game, one shot could change a fight. And hopefully Ryan Garcia learned from that. He's been off for a while. He hasn't fought since then, and that was his fight versus Luke Campbell was January of last year. So he's been inactive for over 12 months now. And he was supposed to fight Javier Fortuna in the summer of last year, but he backed out of that fight due to mental health reasons. Hopefully he got over that slump. I believe he did, because in the fall of last year, he was supposed to fight again, but he backed out of that due to, I think, like hand injuries. Now he's coming back versus Emmanuel Tagoe. Good ring awareness. Like I said, throws awkwardly. He's like a freestyle fighter. But like Ryan Garcia tends to drop his hands, Emmanuel Tagoe, that's one of his biggest flaws. He's opening shots and he drops his hands a lot, and he likes to throw his best punches is that backhand. And with him dropping his hands a lot, especially when he throws, and especially when he throws with that right hand, that leaves him open and vulnerable to Ryan Garcia's best punch, and that's the left hook. And I think Ryan Garcia is going to take advantage of Emmanuel Tagoe's vulnerability, and that's his low guard. and I think he's gonna catch him with a left hook and win via stoppage in the early mid rounds. I'm picking a fifth round TKO win for Ryan Garcia. I think he's gonna get Emmanuel Tagoe out of it. By then, I think Ryan Garcia is going to show superiority when it comes to the hands and just fundamental skills and overall. I don't know how he looks. I haven't been, paying too much attention to the build up to this fight. I don't know how his training camp went under a new trainer. But Joe Goosen, like I said, a good trainer, a good tutor to have by his corner. Hopefully he had sharpened and improved his game, and hopefully he shows that come today versus Emmanuel Tagoe. Tough opponent, but like I said, the perfect opponent to put in there versus a fighter who's trying to, come up on the scene of the sport like Ryan Garcia. So that's my pick for this fight. I think in this fight, Ryan Garcia is going to show the difference in level between the two. Tagoe's been stopped before in his first professional fight. That's his only defeat in his career. So he's, definitely knockoutable. Anybody's, knockoutable. But I think Ryan Garcia is going to show that he's the more superior fighter overall. And I think, it's going to take about like 2-3 rounds. Ryan Garcia being a little green to, figure. It's going to take a few rounds for him to, figure out Tagoe's style and catch his rhythm. But I think he's going to capitalize off the fact that Tagoe likes to, keep his hands down and catch him with a good counter left hook. And that should call for a 5th or 6th round stoppage win for Ryan Garcia. I'm picking a mid-round KO win for Ryan Garcia. Last but not least, to close out this episode of Talk Boxing, Cuba had announced officially that its boxers will now be able to fight professionally. I think under a Mexican promotion. That's the deal that they struck. So for the first time ever since the 1960s, Cuba will allow its boxers to fight freely as a pro. They don't have to defect in order to fight professionally anymore like in the past. Like I said, they got a deal with a Mexican promotion, and now Cuba's fighters, you're going to see them more often in the pros, and that's a good thing for the sport because as boxing fans, we all know Cuba probably got the best amateur boxing system out of all the countries in the world. They've been dominating the amateur scene for decades now, and even in the pros, they have given us some greats. And hopefully this calls for more Kid Gavilands, Kid Chocolates, Luis Rodriguez, and Yoel Casimiro, and more greats like that coming out of the country now, fighting professionally. And them being able to fight professionally, that's going to leave more space for more greats to come out that country. And you still have some greats that's, representing Cuba in the pros right now, like Guillermo Rigondeaux, Luis Ortiz, Ordanes Ugas, Erislandy Lara, Yuriorkis Gamboa, and the list goes on, man. And, this gives a more of an open lane for Cuba to produce more great fighters, not only in the amateurs like we're used to, but now in the pros. So that's a great news for the sport of boxing. Now that does it for this episode of Talk Boxing. Y'all let me know y'all picks, and if y'all got a preview video previewing all the fights for today, y'all covering and talking about that, and y'all want me to go check that out, and I'll be more than glad to. But yeah, y'all leave y'all opinions on all the subjects that I covered in this video. If y'all like, subscribe, share, and like, all that good stuff. Anyways, I'm out, y'all. Be safe, be healthy, and peace.